From Cold War to new competition. For many viewers, the phrase great power competition sounds like a return to the Cold War. But today's landscape is more complex and more interconnected. The United States remains the world's largest military power, with defense spending reaching $916 billion in 2023 according to SIPRI data, and the largest economy at $27.36 trillion GDP in 2023 per World Bank figures, cross-verified via Reuters reports. It now faces a rising China, whose GDP hit $17.79 trillion in 2023, and a resurgent Russia simultaneously. Unlike the old US-Soviet rivalry, all three countries are deeply linked through trade, finance, and technology supply chains. US-China bilateral trade alone exceeded $664 billion in 2023 as reported by Reuters. This means that cooperation and rivalry often exist side by side in the same relationships. Governments, companies, and ordinary people around the world are affected by these shifts, even if they are far from Washington, Beijing, or Moscow. In this film, the focus is not on choosing sides, but on understanding how this competition works and why it matters. The United States has acted as the leading military and economic power since the end of the Second World War, building networks of alliances in Europe and Asia and helping design global institutions such as the United Nations, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund. Its armed forces have a worldwide presence, with over 750 bases in 80 countries and territories. Security partnerships stretching from NATO in Europe, now with 32 members after Finland and Sweden's 2023 to 2024 accessions per BBC, to treaty allies like Japan and South Korea in Asia. At the same time, many in the United States debate how much responsibility the country should continue to carry abroad and whether its domestic economy can sustain long-term strategic competition, especially with projected defense budgets climbing toward $1 trillion annually by 2026 per SIPRI yearbook trends. Supporters of U.S. leadership argue that it provides stability, open sea lanes, and a predictable rules-based order. Critics, inside and outside the country, argue that U.S. power has sometimes been used in ways that create instability or double standards. These competing narratives shape how Washington responds to both China's rise and Russia's actions. China's rapid economic growth over the past 4 decades has transformed it into the world's second-largest economy at $17.79 trillion GDP in 2023 and a central hub in global manufacturing and trade, accounting for 30% of global manufacturing output per UN reports. Its leaders describe a vision of national rejuvenation, in which China regains a central place in world affairs after what they see as a long period of weakness and humiliation. This vision includes major projects such as the Belt and Road Initiative, which has invested over $1 trillion in infrastructure across 150-plus countries in Asia, Africa, Europe, and beyond since 2013, as detailed in Reuters timelines. China has also poured resources into advanced technologies like 5G, where Huawei leads with 50% global market share per industry analyses, and artificial intelligence, alongside green energy initiatives aiming for carbon neutrality by 2060. Supporters of China's rise often highlight the economic opportunities and infrastructure it brings to developing countries. Critics worry about debt risks, political influence, and the potential use of economic power to pressure other governments. In the strategic realm, tensions over the South China Sea, where China claims 90% of the area via its 9-dash line, disputed since 2009 per AP, and the status of Taiwan have become key flashpoints in China's relationship with the United States and its allies. After the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, Russia went through deep economic and political turmoil, but it has gradually reasserted itself as a major military and energy power. With defense spending at $109 billion in 2023 per SIPRI and vast natural gas reserves supplying 40% of Europe's needs pre-2022 per BBC. Its leadership places strong emphasis on sovereignty, great power status, and resistance to what it sees as Western encroachment on its traditional sphere of influence. Conflicts in places such as Georgia in 2008, Ukraine, where Russia annexed Crimea in 2014 and launched a full-scale invasion on February 24, 2022, as verified by Reuters and ISW reports, and Syria since 2015 have brought Russia into sharp confrontation with the United States and many European countries, leading to sanctions, diplomatic crises, and a new sense of insecurity in Europe. From Moscow's perspective, NATO expansion, including the 2008 Bucharest summit promise to Georgia and Ukraine, per declassified records, and Western support for political change near its borders are viewed as direct threats. From the perspective of many NATO members, Russia's use of force, hybrid tactics like cyber attacks, and ongoing Ukraine operations, detailed in daily ISW assessments, are seen as undermining international law and regional stability. These contrasting interpretations fuel a cycle of mistrust that influences the wider triangular relationship among the United States, China, and Russia. One of the most striking features of today's great power competition is that the main actors are deeply economically connected even as they confront each other strategically. The United States and its allies rely on Chinese manufacturing. China produces 80% of global solar panels and dominates rare earths with 60% output and an enormous consumer market, while China depends on access to Western technologies, investment, and export markets worth over $500 billion annually to the U.S. per AP trade data. Russia's energy exports, particularly oil and gas, peaking at 11 million barrels per day pre-sanctions, have long tied it to Europe and global commodity markets, even as sanctions post-2022 invasion and diversification efforts push buyers and sellers to adjust, with LNG imports to Europe surging 60% in 2023 per Reuters. In recent years, all three powers have experimented with using trade, finance, and technology restrictions as tools of pressure. For example, through U.S.-China export controls on semiconductors since 2018, Russia sanctions totaling over 16,000 measures by 2024 per BBC, and restrictions on high-tech components. Supporters of these measures see them as non-military ways to respond to security threats or violations of international norms. Critics warn that the weaponization of economic ties can accelerate fragmentation, increase costs for ordinary people, and push countries to build parallel systems that bypass existing global frameworks. Beyond economics, the three powers are engaged in a continuous effort to shape the military balance and develop advanced technologies. The United States maintains traditional advantages in global power projection with 11 aircraft carriers, alliances like NATO's 3.5 million troops, and high-end systems like F-35 stealth fighters numbering over 1,000 produced per Jane's defense. China has focused on rapidly modernizing its forces, growing its navy to 370 ships and platforms by 2024. The world's largest per Pentagon reports cross-referenced with SIPRI, especially in its surrounding region. While Russia has invested in specific areas such as nuclear weapons with 5,889 warheads, hypersonic missiles like Kinzhal, and some emerging technologies per SIPRI Arms database. All three countries are exploring new domains of competition, including cyber operations as seen in Russia's 2022 Ukraine hacks per Bellingcat, space capabilities with over 7,000 satellites combined, and autonomous systems. This raises questions about how existing arms control arrangements, many designed during the Cold War like New START expiring in 2026, can be updated for a more crowded and technologically complex environment per ISW analyses. Analysts warn that crises around places like Ukraine, the Baltic region, the South China Sea, or Taiwan could escalate quickly if communication fails or red lines are misunderstood. At the same time, there are ongoing diplomatic efforts, formal and informal, to manage these risks and prevent direct great power war, even amid intense rivalry. For many countries in Africa, Latin America, the Middle East, and parts of Asia, the renewed great power competition is not just a distant story but a daily strategic calculation. Governments in these regions often seek to avoid choosing rigid sides, preferring to balance relations with the United States, China, and Russia to gain economic, security, or diplomatic benefits, evident in BRICS expansion to 10 members including Egypt and Iran in 2024 per Reuters. New groupings and forums, such as expanded BRICS formats or regional organizations like ASEAN, are sometimes presented as alternatives or complements to Western-led institutions. Some leaders welcome a more multipolar world as a chance to gain leverage and diversify partnerships, while others worry that competition among great powers will play out on their territory or deepen existing conflicts, as in Sahel instability detailed by Al Jazeera. Civil society voices in many countries also raise concerns about human rights, corruption, and environmental impacts linked to all external actors, not just one. How these states navigate their choices will strongly influence whether the emerging order becomes more cooperative, more fragmented, or more unstable. Looking ahead, there is no single agreed-upon script for how US-China-Russia competition will evolve. One scenario is increased fragmentation, with parallel financial systems like China's CIPS challenging SWIFT, technology standards splitting 5G per 6G ecosystems, and security blocks like an expanded SCO, making the world more divided and less predictable per ISW projections. Another scenario involves a tense but managed rivalry, where the powers compete in many areas yet still cooperate on shared interests such as climate change, via COP agreements, global health like COVID vaccine diplomacy, and nuclear risk reduction through bilateral talks. A third possibility is that existing institutions are reformed, or new rules and forums are created, to better reflect the distribution of power and the demands of emerging and developing countries representing 85% of the world's population. Which path becomes more likely will depend not only on decisions in Washington, Beijing, and Moscow, but also on the choices of smaller states, international organizations, and global public opinion. For viewers, the key question is not only who wins this competition, but what kind of international order they want to live in and how it will affect their daily lives.